Hey, what's going on, everyone? I'm Brian,
I'm Xavier.
and today we're going to be debunking some VA myths.
All right. So, first question: as a lender, what are some big misconceptions you've come across, especially with first-time home buyers and VA home buyers? Like, what are some misconceptions?
Yeah, so one of the ones that comes off my mind right off the bat is I can't use my VA more than once. And I couldn't tell you that's furthest from the truth as possible. You're actually able to utilize it as many times as you possibly can, depending where you buy and under what county loan limit you are purchasing. So, as long as you have enough entitlement in your VA loan, you'll be able to reuse it virtually as many times as possible. But definitely check with your local lender to see what you qualify for if you own properties already.
No, yeah, I can't agree even more. Especially as a realtor, one of the things I do is we're actually talking about it the other
Yeah.
day. I go on base. I essentially teach VA classes, home buying 101 classes to young Marines and sailors and the senior enlisted as well with that unit. And the very first question that always comes up is, how many times can I use my VA home loan? Another one that a lot of people tend to, believe this myth is, I could only use the VA home loan when I'm a veteran.
Very common. And I actually I say the opposite. You want to use it while you're active. Why? Because you have your BAH, you have your BAS pay, and that helps out so much when qualifying for a property because as you know, you're able to gross up those income and it makes you be able to afford more. So leveraging your VA once you're inside the military is going to be your best bet because you'll have more options and you'll have more income, meaning you're going to be able to afford something that suits you a little better.
No, yeah, I can't agree anymore. Especially with BAH being such a substantial amount, especially here in Southern California, standard BAH rate, at least in San Diego County, is a little bit shy above 3,300.
Easily. And you know what I always feel envy about in a positive way, and I wish I would have done this in my early years, is when I approve two dual military couples where they're both active, you're talking about two BAHs combined, two BASs combined, and base pay combined. You're virtually, putting yourself in a great position to buy because you have the income, you have the resources, and while you're active, you can save up so that when you're out, you don't have to have that burden of how am I going to pay the mortgage.
100%. Especially when it's dual BAH like that, dual entitlements. I mean, just the amount of doors that open.
Yo, 100%. Another VA myth that comes up a lot is I'm only able to buy a single family property.
I hear that way too many times, but that's the beauty about being a realtor, being a lender. A lot of people tend to look at it like we're sales agents. I completely agree to disagree.
I like that.
Just because, yes, we are in the sales industry, it's a very cutthroat industry, but I disagree because the way I look at it, only reason why we exist is to service our clients. Think of it like lawyers.
Yeah.
Lawyers
100%.
only exist to defend their clients. Kind of like the same thing.
100%. I had someone bring to my attention the other day that it's not so much that you're a mortgage lender, but a mortgage advisor, meaning that you're giving people advice on what they should be doing with this, this purchase in their life, this refinance in their life. And I look at that perspective and I'm like, you're right. I never want to sell someone. I want to just help them get to where they want to be. And if I'm able to do that, then hey, I did my job.
No, yeah. But going back to topic, only being able to use it for a single family home. You could use it for a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex. As long as you stay in the residential area, you could use it for nearly almost everything, especially when it comes down to, manufactured homes. There's a lot of realtors, unfortunately, that when it comes down to the VA, they say, no, you can't buy a manufactured home. It's like, yes, you can, as long as it's on a permanent foundation.
100%. One of the one of the big things I like to say about the VA, and a lot of people have a hard time understanding it. I like to say, don't FHA my VA. What I mean by that is that just because the FHA is a government backed product, it doesn't mean that it's the exact same as a VA loan. And it also doesn't fall under the same guidelines. Therefore, just because you can't do it on a FHA loan doesn't mean a VA won't be able to do it as well. That's why it's very important that you work with somebody that understands the ins and outs of the VA loan. Because as you see, a lot of people will be quick to say, no, we can't do that. But I don't, knock them. It's a lack of knowledge and understanding of what they're able to do with the VA loan.
Yeah, and like going back to it, that's like the best part of being in this industry is not only the key ceremonies, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all creatures of, being social, liking to be around people. So that by default is like the cherry on top. We made it to the finish line. It's honestly the best feeling.
Yeah. But like another part of this industry is like being able to educate people.
Mm.
Just because pretty sure in, being part of the Latino community, we always hear no se puede, I can't buy a house or I'll never be able to
Always.
get out of renting. And that's where it's like the big part of our job is being able to, give them that extra push. Like,
Yeah.
hey, yes, you can. We're here to help you. Like, what's your situation? And then from there, with a really good realtor, really good lender, and going back to it, like a realtor lender relationship, make it or break it.
100%. Like we were speaking before, if the right hand isn't talking to the left hand, we got some problems here,
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that there's a comfortability with the clients within the partnership of the lender and the realtor. And then ultimately, be the professionals that you're here to tell them, what they need to hear. And it's not always going to be what they want to hear. And I think that's, what separates, the good realtors from, the okay realtors. I'm not going to say bad realtors because everybody's working their hardest, to be someone. And I just think that the more level of understanding you have in the situation, the better you're going to be able to advise or guide your clients, which actually leads me to my next question. You're a retired veteran.
Correct.
Ex-Marine, and you're now helping people get into their properties, and you specialize in VA as well. What is the mindset that you embody when you're helping these military members? The doubts, the thoughts that you've gone through, that you're able to relate to them throughout the process.
Man, the mindset, I just put myself in their shoes. I'm like, all right, I got to understand where they're coming from. And every client is different. And the way I get my mindset is I evaluate their situation kind of, and it boils down to that very first phone call and then moving into the buyer's consultation. It's kind of like they're interviewing you, but I feel like realtors should interview their clients to get a better understanding. And once I understand where they're coming from, like, let's say, what's the most recent one? Boom. Guy works construction, makes really good money, but he's stuck in the renting loophole. And I understand where he comes from because I did general contracting on the side. I understand the hustle it takes and, some of the things you have to do. And I'm able to relate to him in that sense. And I know that construction guys are always on, hustle, hustle, hustle. You know what? I can't make it, or very short on time. So with them, I have to adjust the way I speak to them, reaching out to them, short and sweet.
Yeah.
Get to the point. So kind of like that, like being able to relate to your client, being able to understand not just their situation, but what they do for work as well. I feel like that helps getting into that mindset.
100%. It sounds like you thoroughly like to understand their situation to be able to provide solution based on their specifics rather than putting a general blanket on them and saying, hey, real estate's a one size fits all. We come to realize that it really isn't. And everything's very specific, very ordinary, and not one deal is the same. And what went right in one deal can go wrong in another. 100%. So I think the biggest key is, in the beginning stages when I meet clients, asking so much information, so much questions that you're going to have the most data to be able to give them that answers, to be able to suggest the solutions for, their problems, their obstacles, or their thoughts that they don't know how to control.
Yeah, it's
Because it's very emotional buying. I like you're almost a therapist as well.
we have a joke, like you're not only a realtor, you're a marriage counselor, you're a therapist, you're a mechanic.
Like today.
Quick background. Today I had some showings and my client's car ended up dying. So luckily I always carry a med bag and jumper cables, tourniquets, the whole nine. And fortunately I was able to jumpstart their car. But yeah, like stuff like that,
Yeah, it's very encouraging when you're able to find, a client that you align with. And that's also one thing that, I like to be very vocal about. We may not be a good fit, and that's totally fine. I've come to realize that there's different personality types. If you're able to understand that, you'll have a better idea or a better opportunity to connect with somebody that might not be like you, but that also gives you the opportunity to say, maybe this is not going to be a good fit. And I think that's also very mature as a realtor or lender to say, hey, we might see not eye to eye, and therefore this, and that. So I think having the honest conversation up front and telling them, hey, these are the boundaries. You also have to know that, hey, you can't let a client walk all over you.
100%. It's one of those things, like especially barely starting off, that's one of those things I had to learn the hard way, is setting boundaries. Just because I was wasting a lot of time driving, I was wasting a lot of time just opening doors that wouldn't lead to accomplishing their dreams or to a transaction, stuff like that. And it's like learning how to set boundaries with your clients as well. To a certain extent, like, you could have some clients where you guys become best friends.
Yeah.
They invite you to the ranch in Mexico.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And like stuff like that. It's just, learning your client, learn not just learning about them, but learning the type of person they are, their morals and stuff like that. I like to get really personal in that sense, just because I feel like if they're able to open up personally with me, it's a two-way street, and that relationship is going to be like this.
I love that you brought that up, and it's being able to be vulnerable, I feel opens up the door for other people to then open up without having any walls in between. And if you're quick to be vulnerable and just, honest, people can read that energy, and they respect that. And I think also when you're honest and you're just straight up, they respect that as well.
I'm so glad you brought that up, man. Like, I can't tell you, honesty. I feel like a lot of people are scared, especially in like the realtor lender world. There's some people that are scared to tell the truth, and they always end up over promising, and it just leads to a bad deal, bad mix of emotions. Because you promised me this, but now I'm here. It's like clients will appreciate you being honest, even though honesty could hurt sometimes, and they'll appreciate you more from that compared to you over promising.
100%. By motto, I honestly like to underpromise and overdeliver, because I've been caught on the other side of that coin. And believe me, it's the way the professional sets themselves up that can be avoided.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like, looking for houses, just trying to find the right fit for them, especially if you like under promise a bit, but you could kind of squeeze a little bit more and you get them to that end result, they're going to appreciate a lot more.
100%. Switching topics, why do you think right now is such an important time to be pre-approved?
Right now, so this one's a big one to unpack, just because there's so much to it. But I'll start off with the main one: competition.
Thank you.
Competition. It's essentially, as people don't like to look at it that way, it's a buyer's market. Because obviously people aren't going to look at it that way, because the main issue that's happening right now, from at least what I'm seeing, is houses are sitting on market for a long time,
longer than we're used to here in San Diego.
Yeah. And a lot of it I feel like is the price range.
Mhm.
People aren't pricing their houses right, but that's a
Yeah.
whole
Well,
other
that's
thing.
another rabbit hole we can unpack.
Yeah. But right now is the right time, especially houses are sitting
Mhm.
long. And what does that mean to the client looking, for a buyer looking? I mean, more competitive offers, meaning you're able to negotiate a lot more,
Yeah.
especially right now. I was able to negotiate closing costs, commission, and an extra $15,000 in credit.
There you go. With who you work with matters.
Yeah, 100%. Not just that, but an agent who understands the current market too.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. One of the things I've been driving home right now to my buyers and to people looking to get into the market is just because you get pre-approved doesn't mean you're going to buy tomorrow. It's okay to get pre-approved. Be ready, stay ready, because when the opportunity comes, if you try to get a pre-approved, then you're going to be behind. And that competition you talked about, they're looking at the same house you are as well. So
100%.
chances are that if you get pre-approved when the opportunity comes, you're already out of the game, buddy.
Yep.
You're
That-
already out of the game.
That's one thing I always set my clients up for
Mhm.
success, especially when the buyer's consultation. I hit two main things there. Towards the end, are you ready to be pre-approved?
Mhm.
And then the first one is when explaining expected costs and expected timelines. A lot of people say timelines for house shopping, 1 to 3 months. I tell them, honestly, I wrote this slide deck, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be a time limit to your house shopping, because at the end of the day, whether if it's the first showing or the 20th showing,
Yep.
as long as you find what you're happy with, what you want, not what I want, not what they want, not what your in-laws want, what you want, the price isn't going to matter, the rate isn't going to matter, because that's going to be your home. And that's
I love how you say that because it's so true, and it goes to making sacrifices for what you want. And I've done it, and plenty of times when I wanted to get my license for real estate, I had to sacrifice time. I had to sacrifice time to get my lender's license. That's what I meant. But it's also making those sacrifices, knowing that, hey, I'm gonna get this reward, and it's gonna be worth it. And at times, I've had clients that are like, hey, I'm very skeptical about buying. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make that payment. Like, what's going to happen? They go forth with it. 1 year later passes, and they're like, hey, I love the house. It's been great. We're making remodels. And the wife, she's actually thinking, how do we get another one? And it's just the fear of the unknown in the beginning stages that I feel drives that anxiety and gives clients the feeling that I don't know if this is going to happen. But that's where your professionals come in, because we're kind of like that motivation, that reassurance that, hey, I know you feel that, but this happens, this could also happen, and this is why you're protected in that aspect. So I think understanding that helps you be able to guide the clients and let the clients know that you're being taken care of.
No, yeah, 100%. Like, there's a lot of scared clients, especially doing open houses. I ran into a couple of scared home shoppers, and I asked them, what's holding you back from pulling the trigger? And the number one response I get to that question is because of the market. I'm like, tell me more about that. They always lean towards rates, and then the tariffs and all that. I'm like, let's say you're locked in at a 6%. Would that 6% matter if you find the right house? Exactly what you're looking for. In a perfect world. Well, no. I'm like, then you haven't found the right house. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week, but you're going to find it with the right person and the right guidance. And now I already got showing set up all next week.
It reminds me when you said timelines. I've had plenty of clients where they come in and say, oh, I'm 6 to 9 months out. Like, that's fine. Let's get pre-approved. Let's see where you're at. You want to know if there's anything you got to work on beforehand. You say you're 6 to 9 months out, so that gives you plenty of runway. What I've come to learn is as soon as they get pre-approved, they're like, I got pre-approved for that much? Nah, no way. It's like a psychoactive reaction inside of them that they themselves didn't believe that they were going to be approved. So that's why I feel in the beginning stages they're afraid to get pre-approved because they want all these hypothetical questions answered, but don't want to give any other specific information to give them accurate answers. So fast forward, they get pre-approved, they go window shopping, meaning they're just going to see houses, right? And
Yeah.
I still say go with an agent because you want to have them tell you what options are available as far as negotiations, what's wrong with the house, and you want to ask the right questions. Believe it or not, the right questions are going to get you better answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having that in mind, once they got pre-approved, they started window shopping, they found the one that they liked, and they were in a position where they could submit an offer right away and not have to worry about competition taking their house. So that's why I advise people looking to buy or make a move, go run the numbers, see what it looks like. It's no obligation. You don't have to buy the next day. You don't have to buy the next month. Shoot, you don't have to buy at all. But what it will give you is a clear idea, an indicator of where you stand, and a breakdown of how much it's going to cost you to do the damn thing.
I'm glad you brought out that pre-approval, because I see a lot of people home shopping or window shopping like that without getting pre-approved. And I, starting off in the industry, I made that mistake and I failed my clients in that time. But again, trial and error.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, it's learning experience.
yeah, I mean, you in this industry, you learn almost every single day.
Well, we said buyers are liars, bro. Get them pre-approved.
Yep. No, yeah. So, one of the things I saw was clients who weren't pre-approved, they find the right house, and it's like the worst time too, because it's like the first couple of showings. They find the right house, they're ready, they're excited to submit an offer. By the time they finish getting pre-approved, the house is already pending. It's like, damn.
How discouraging is that?
Super discouraging. I mean, not just for them, it's a whole bundle of emotions. They're discouraged because they really wanted that house. To them, it was painted picture perfect. And then it's discouraging because with the more seasoned realtor, more seasoned person, they'll explain, well, why didn't you get pre-approved? And then that turns back on you. And I feel like that was the biggest turning point for me. I'm like, you know what? It's going to be part of my step process whenever I do my buyer's consultations. So, now with some time in.
Yeah. But it ultimately works as a protection for, the buyers, because it's going to avoid these types of situations where, you get the worms and fuzzies only to get brought down.
Yeah.
And I think that all could be avoided by, taking the initial steps of doing the pre-approval. And it's not as complicated, complex, or difficult as many people may think. It's actually a very easy process. And I think it's more of the idea of that, I don't know, I haven't checked my credit. It's more insecurities than anything that blocks you from being able to say, okay, let's go forward with it. Because I'm telling you, once people get pre-approved and they just based off the conversation, before we even run any numbers, I ask them, what's your job like? Where do you work? How long have you been there for? What's your income like? When was the last time you checked your credit? How much money do you have in the bank? What are your debts looking like? What type of payment do you have right now for rent? Just based off these simple questions, I'm able to generate a general idea of where they're at, financially, mentally, socially, and you get an idea of if they're serious or not. Based off of that, if, I think it's a positive response, and I say, hey, well, it looks like you check this off, you check this off, you check this off. What's holding you back from actually seeing what it looks like? And then they give you the real truth. Yep. I don't know. I wasn't sure. Well, I'm like, well, now I'm letting you know, based on what you've told me in my experience, you're in a good position to, pull the trigger. We go and get it done. And it's never as bad as people make it to seem. Yes. and I take it from personal experience when I'm just having a difficult day or I have a huge problem that I'm in my head, like, oh, how am I going to solve this? And the problem went from this to now this. And then when I actually go and take it on, it was like this. That's exactly how I feel people look at just getting pre-approved.
Not just that, especially with first-time home buyers, a lot of them, have that idea that to buy a house, you need a huge down payment, like 20%. And that's not the case. You only need like 3%,
3%,
3.5%.
3.5 in some instances. And there's programs that give you the down payment.
Yeah, the DPA program,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I have one client that's currently home shopping with that, and it's, all they need to bring out is their earnest money deposit, and the rest, I mean, being able to negotiate in today's market, I mean, they're going to be getting that money back.
That's something that I wanted to touch on, the negotiations. I think that's so vitally important. And I don't think buyers nor sellers understand that enough and what wonders a realtor can do for you. Because I've worked with, realtors that are afraid to ask for credits. I've worked with realtors that don't care how much they ask for credits. And what I've come to realize, if you don't ask, you're not getting anything.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
In real estate, everything's negotiable, but not everything's guaranteed. So you can go back and forth, and you're going to get something. But if you don't ask, you're getting nothing. And that's guaranteed.
Yep. The way I look at it, well, yeah, I'm gonna try to negotiate these credits for you. What's the worst they could say? No?
No, yeah. Or, hey, we'll give you half of what you asked. Great. They couldn't give you nothing.
Yeah. No, yeah. But, going back to those first-time home buyers, another thing I really wanted to touch is a lot of people think they need to pay off all their debt.
Oh, no. Or even student debt. Like, oh, I have too much student debt, I can't buy. Furthest from the truth. One of the ways that lenders look at your debts is only calculating the minimal monthly payments. So even though you have a debt of, let's say, $7,000, but your monthly payment is only $100 that you're paying, we're taking that $100 against your debt to income ratio, which is basically your income versus your debts a month.
I'm so glad you brought that up. For my brother watching, this is for you.
Yeah, so your debt to income ratio is literally just made up of all your debts divided by your income, and then you get a certain percentage. Based on that percentage, depending on where you fall, it's going to let you know how much you can get approved for, what type of program you're approved for, and if you can even be approved. There is certain limits and thresholds to each program, depending whether you're doing a conventional loan or an FHA loan. So FHA is going to allow you to have more debt when buying a house, whereas conventional is going to allow you to have less debt. But that's usually, case by case.
Case by case, yeah. From a lot of the questions I get, we kind of hit it.
Yeah, I just looked at this. I'm like, dude, we're 20 minutes in here.
Yeah. What are some, tips you recommend to people who are just, because there's some lenders, and we're actually talking about this, how not every lender is the right fit, and not every agent is the right fit. And once you come to peace with that, you're, at the end of the day, we're service providers.
Yeah, of course.
And if you're able to provide those options and those types of services to your clients, they'll appreciate you a lot. But what do you recommend for when, agents out there run into a brick wall using one of their lenders who can't really do much for their client?
So I think relationships matter a lot in our industry, and we're very keen to wanting to nourish our relationships and build them. But there's a time where you have to look for the solution. And maybe a relationship you currently have isn't going to be able to provide that solution. And I think it's a case by case. Just because they can't do that one deal doesn't mean somebody else can't. And I think it goes back to the level of understanding the file, the client, the situation, and then the capabilities of what they're able to do. Knowing that, you can then dictate whether, hey, I am the guy for that, or hey, I might know somebody that I connect you with. And just from past experience, there's been times where a deal falls in my lap. I'm looking through it. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this, but I think I know somebody that may be able to help you out. And being able to still be a resource and say, hey, I might not be able to do this, but I could still find someone for you. That opens up the door for them to send you business because you were honest. And B, you're able to then get their business still down the line because they're going to purchase again. They're going to refinance sometime down the line. But if you just lead them on and tell them yes, 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 and then lead them to the end and it was a no, now you messed up all your relationships. Relationship with the agent, relationship with your clients, and relationship with any future referrals that they could have provided for you. So if you're an agent that's going through this situation, don't be afraid to go and ask for alternate help. I know that you respect your partner. I know that, you work with your lender very closely, but sometimes it's not going to work out. And
Yeah.
and it's happened to me, and I'm okay. I'm the type of person that when I'm competing versus another lender, I'm like, look, I'm going to make it very simple for you. If I can't beat what they're offering, I will tell you, go there, call me back when you need a refund.
No, yeah.
And they laugh, but I'm like, I'm not gonna waste your time, and I'm not gonna waste mine.
Mhm.
Like, time's valuable here. People want to get places, so I want to make sure that if I can do it, hey, I can do it. Let's do it. Boom, I can take care of it. If not, nip it in the butt. Tell them, hey, I can send you this direction where they might be able to help you, but don't mess it up for everybody else.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up referrals, because I feel like if you provide good service to your clients, that's pretty much all you need.
Mhm.
Especially with one really good client, as we like to look at it, that's 5 referrals in the
Mhm.
future.
Mhm.
And just being able to provide that type of service is like the best thing in the world.
One of the pillars I live by is you take care of people, people will take care of you.
Amen.
You help people get what they want, and you'll always get what you want.
That's I live by a saying like that.
It's
And
like, just be a good person.
it's a saying my dad always used to say growing up. It's like, hey, you get what you give in the world. If
Mm.
you're gonna give a shit, the world's gonna give you shit. If you give the world kindness, you're gonna get kindness back.
100%.
It's
Your life is it's a recycle of your energy that you put out.
yes, 100%.
And I'll take that to another level. The people you surround yourself with also contribute to the energy. So if your energy isn't aligned with the people around you, there's going to be misconnections. There's going to be short wirings. And that causes problems, as we know. And just put that into your business, put that into your relationships. You want the current of the energy to flow naturally.
Yes. I feel like surrounding yourself with like-minded
Mm.
people is key to success. Just because, one of my mentors, he told me the same. He's all like, if you surround yourself with a group of friends and they're 5 drunk friends, you're bound to be the 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you surround yourself with a group of 5 successful friends, you're bound to be the 6th. It's just the way you want to direct your life.
It's so true. It's so true. And I think as you get older, you start realizing that when you're young, you don't really pay close attention because you're caught up by the fun, by the, oh, this will never end. But you grow up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I'm 30 now. I still feel young, but I'm not doing the exact same thing I was doing when I was 20. You change a lot when you experience more, and the more that you experience in life, the more you grow. So if you're not having experiences that are challenging you, that are forming you, that are shaping you, that are at times breaking you, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to grow into your full potential.
100%. Man, I'm 22 and I feel like I'm 40.
You carry yourself like a 40 like a 40-year-old. I feel the like how do you say it in Spanish, like a señor?
Un
don.
Or in today's terms, unk.
Yeah. That's true.
No, yeah, it definitely, life hits you when your knees start to hurt, dude.
Yeah.
You wake up and you're like,
And I'm 30 and I had a bad back all my 20s, and I'm like, I can't wait till I'm 40. It's gonna be completely broken.
that's gonna be fun.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed this, man. This was good. I think we got a lot of information in. I think we spoke about a lot of really good topics, a lot of constructive topics, a lot of good examples. I'm hopefully people listen to this and they really take something from it and apply it into their life, into their journey, into their process of buying. And one of the things I realized is the way you do something is the way you do everything. So if you're unorganized in your life, you're going to be unorganized in your transaction. You're going to be unorganized in your business. So take what you will from that.
And I'm glad we did this because just an announcement. It's something I've always had in the back of my head. But now that we're actually doing it, it's like the next stepping stone. And I'm glad we started this podcast because I I really enjoy my time going on base educating these young Marines, young sailors, and I feel like this is another platform where we could educate not just young Marines, young sailors, young airmen, soldiers, you name it,
Yep.
but also educating the people out there, people who, might look at this video and they might be doubtful, but they got something from this that took away that doubt.
You know what's crazy that you say that? We had stuff written down, completely almost didn't even talk about what we had written down. It was just went straight from experience, and from one thing led to another. And I think that's the most effective types of conversations, because it's real life examples. I mean, I've lived through it, you lived through it, there's stuff you've gone through. And I think these are the types of way that people are learning now, or understanding how things work through real life experiences of people that are out there doing the thing that they want to do.
100%. It's like, I kind of want to start using this platform not just to educate people, but also share other people's experiences.
Oh, 100%.
Like especially veteran-owned businesses.
Yeah.
Or just small mom and pop shops. How they took their dream and made it into a reality, and I feel like that really connects with homeownership.
I believe there's a huge untapped community of small business entrepreneurs that are probably thriving, that have great stories, that are constantly doing things that we would like to highlight. And I think there's so much people here in San Diego that deserve a spotlight, that deserve to share their stories, because just in you talking about, your stories, your backgrounds, like you relate and you're like, wow, I didn't know that about it. Oh, that's cool. And you start connecting with people subconsciously based off the things that you have similar interest in. And I really like that we're able to do that through this and talk to virtually hundreds of people. And one of my favorite things is when I meet somebody that met me through my videos, through my podcast, and they tell me, hey, you're the exact same person on camera that you are when I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah.
That right there, Xavier, is probably my favorite, most like, oh, I'm hyped compliment. Bro, like, dude, like, yeah, like I get the goosebumps just thinking that. But that's because, I strive to just be me. I don't want to be anybody else, because I probably suck at being anybody else. I'm really good at being me.
Yeah, and that's the best part about it. You're you, like being able to be yourself, be genuine, is way better than trying to be something you're not.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
be you.
So, what do you say? This is the end of the first episode.
Yeah, I think this is a good opening episode. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, thank you.
No,
for,
of course.
Giving me that extra push.
No, I love it.
Like we said, it just takes one push.
It just takes one, bro. Each one, teach one.
Let's
go.
All right, see you next week, you guys.
Later, guys.